Greetings all, and welcome to Ifarounke Wisdom on this Wisdom Wednesday. Have you ever felt torn between what you believe, what you desire, and what you experience? This inner dissonance can cloud your clarity and hinder your spiritual growth. Today, we will explore the roots of these internal conflicts and discover pathways to harmonize our inner world, paving the way for true clarity. Sometimes our long-held beliefs may not align with our evolving understanding of the truth. This misalignment can cause confusion and doubt. Beliefs are powerful. They shape the lens through which we see everything: ourselves, others, God, purpose, life, even pain. Some of our beliefs were handed to us before we had language to question them, before we could say no or even why. We inherited them from our families, our cultures, our religious institutions, our traumas. They became our compass. But sometimes they were drawn by hands that were afraid, or tired, or just plain wounded. And sometimes the map they drew doesn't match the terrain of our soul. But truth does not need permission to be. It doesn't shift based on geography or generation. It is not intimidated by tradition, nor softened by sentimentality. Truth stands, quiet, still. Not because it lacks power, but because it is power. Here's the difficult part. What happens when what we believe is true is not actually truth? What happens when your cultural belief tells you to suppress grief, but your soul is begging to mourn? What happens when your religion tells you God is wrathful, but your spirit keeps encountering love? What happens when you were taught you are less than because of your skin, your gender, your past, and yet something inside you knows you were created in magnificence? What happens when the belief that this is how it has always been no longer matches what you are experiencing in the now? There comes a point when the structure of belief begins to feel like a box. Not because belief is wrong, but because it has become too small to contain the expansion of your awareness. This is not rebellion. This is evolution. This is what it means to walk toward truth. You see, belief can be a bridge, but it is not always the destination. And some beliefs were meant to carry you only so far, to get you out of danger, or to protect you when you were young and vulnerable. But you are not there anymore. You have grown. And the truth, it has always been calling. It was there when the belief didn't hold. It was still there in the stillness when your experience contradicted your doctrine. It was there when you knew something more was possible, before you could even name it. And here is the final blow to cantankerous resistance. You do not have to destroy your past to be faithful to your future. You only have to be honest about where the belief no longer matches the beat of your heart. The truth does not need drama. It just needs space. Desire is sacred. It is the whisper of potential, the flicker of what could be, the pull toward something more. Desire could ignite transformation, push us beyond limitation, awaken our dormant gifts. It is not wrong to desire. In fact, desire might just be a signal that something within us remembers a truth life hasn't yet revealed. But what happens when what we desire and what we experience don't match? What happens when you long for peace, but your home is filled with tension? When you crave partnership, but you keep finding yourself alone? When you desire purpose, but your days feel mechanical and dry? That gap between desire and experience, that is the ache of the soul. And if we are not careful, that ache can harden into disappointment or even despair. We begin to question ourselves. Maybe I'm asking for too much. Maybe it is not meant for me. Maybe I should just accept what is. But I want to gently challenge that. Maybe, just maybe, the problem isn't the desire. Maybe the tension exists because the experience hasn't caught up to the soul's knowing. And maybe, if we listen closely, that ache isn't asking us to settle. It is asking us to align. Here's the truth. Desire must be anchored in clarity to bear fruit. Because if we do not examine what we desire, where it comes from, whether it aligns with our values, whether it is shaped by ego or truth, then we risk chasing illusions. And that leads to frustration, exhaustion, and misalignment. Not every desire is divine. Some are inherited. Some are driven by comparison. Some are planted by fear. The desire to be seen, loved, or safe, because somewhere along the way we were taught we weren't enough as we are. So, if your experience feels far from your desire, pause. Do not abandon the desire. Interrogate it. Ask it where it came from. Ask it what it is really pointing you toward. And ask your experience what it is here to teach you. Because sometimes the experience is not a punishment. It is a preparation. It is tuning your instrument so when the desire finally meets reality, you are ready to hold it, to carry it with integrity, to not let it undo you. Desire without clarity is a wild flame. Desire rooted in truth becomes a guiding light. Let us speak plainly. There is a difference between what I know and what is true. I may know that I am powerful, but still feel powerless. I may know that fear is an illusion, but still be afraid. I may know that forgiveness is liberating, but still carry resentment like a stone in my chest. Knowledge alone is not enough. You can study every sacred text, read every self-help book, repeat every affirmation in the mirror, and still feel far from clarity. Because knowing is mental. Truth is energetic. Knowing is a light switch. Truth is the sun. It rises whether you flip the switch or not. And here's the thing. Knowledge is important. It gives language to what we feel. It organizes thought. But if we stay in the head, it will never reach the heart. We can know the path, but if we don't walk it, our life will still feel crooked. This is where so many spiritual seekers get caught. We gather knowledge like trophies, concepts, frameworks, quotes. We say things like, I already know that. But the question isn't, do you know it? The question is, are you living it? Has it settled into your bones? Does it shape how you move through conflict, fear, love, and uncertainty? Has the knowing become embodied? Because when truth is real, it transforms you. Not just how you speak, how you breathe, how you pause, how you listen, how you rest, how you forgive, how you choose again. Truth humbles the ego. Knowledge without truth can puff it up. And sometimes we cling to what we know to avoid surrendering to what is true. Because truth demands change. It asks us to become. So if you are struggling to reconcile what you know with how you feel, be gentle. You are not broken. You are bridging the gap. The invitation is to drop into the body. Let the head rest. Let the spirit speak. Because truth doesn't always speak in words. Sometimes it shows up as a knowing in the gut, a resonance in the chest, a peace that doesn't need explanation. And when what you know aligns with what is true, clarity just doesn't visit. It moves in. What we know intellectually may not always match our lived experiences, creating a gap between understanding and reality. There is a moment in every life when the theory gets tested, when what you have learned meets what you must live. And in that moment, knowledge bows to experience. You can know all about grief and still be leveled when it touches your doorstep. You can know about boundaries and still find your voice trembling when you need to say no. You can know that love requires vulnerability and still flinch when someone gets too close. This is the space where we learn that information is not transformation. Information speaks to you. Experience moves through you. And only that, only lived experience transforms. You see, life is not a classroom with neat lessons and clean chalkboards. It is messy. It is embodied. It is sacred trial and holy error. We must stop shaming ourselves for not mastering what we have only just begun to live. Just because you read about fire does not mean you won't get burned the first time you touch it. And just because you know better doesn't mean you are not still healing from the time you didn't. And that's okay, because experience deepens knowledge. It adds texture. It adds memory. It adds compassion. It turns I understand into I have been there. And that's the wisdom the world needs. The kind that doesn't just talk, it remembers. The kind that doesn't perform, it feels. So if you are living through something right now that's pulling you apart, if you find yourself saying, I should know better, pause. You are not feeling. You are integrating. You are not behind. You are becoming. This is the part where life asks you to embody the lesson, not just repeat it. And when you do, you become a carrier of wisdom. Not because you studied it, but because you survived it. There are few things more disorienting than realizing your own experience contradicts what you were taught to believe. You were told good things happen to good people, but you have seen the gentle suffer and the cruel succeed. You were told forgive and forget, but your nervous system still flinches when you hear that voice or see that face. You were told God doesn't give you more than you can handle. But some days it feels like you have been handed more than anyone's soul should have to carry. And so you stand there with the weight of your experience on one side and the structure of your beliefs on the other. And they do not match. What now? Some people choose to invalidate their experience. They force themselves back into belief. They say things like, maybe it's just a test, or it's not that bad. Not because it isn't bad, but because their belief system doesn't know what to do with what they are feeling. Others abandon belief altogether, left raw and unanchored. But I want to offer a third path. Let your experience refine your beliefs. Let your life be the holy text. Let your pain be a teacher, not a threat. Let your body's wisdom speak where the doctrine was silent. Because any belief that cannot hold your full truth is too small for your spirit. You do not dishonor your ancestors by evolving. You do not betray your culture by healing. You do not blaspheme by telling the truth about what you lived. The betrayal is not in the questioning. The betrayal is in the silencing of the soul. And here's the thing most people forget. Your experience was not an accident. It was given to you, shaped around you, sculpted into you, so that you could walk in a kind of knowing no one else can teach. You do not need permission to believe differently than you were taught. What you need is integrity. To honor the path that brought you here, while not becoming trapped by it. To say, this belief once kept me safe, now it keeps me small. This story no longer fits the truth I am living. I give myself the freedom to become. When your experience and your belief are aligned, you become a force of clarity. But when they are at odds, clarity blurs and the soul grows restless. This is not spiritual rebellion. It is spiritual ripening. Because life is not asking you to discard belief. It is asking you to live it from a place of truth. So we have walked through the 5 strands: what I believe, what I know, what I desire, what I experience, and what is true. Each of them carries weight. Each of them shapes perception. Each of them can lead us into wisdom or confusion, depending on whether they are in harmony or at odds. And when they are at odds, we feel it. We doubt ourselves. We second guess our path. We say, I thought I knew better. Or, why can't I figure this out? But the truth is, we are not broken. We are just misaligned. Clarity isn't something you force. It is something you clear space for. And that space is made by bringing your inner world into agreement. When what you believe is rooted in truth, when what you desire is aligned with your purpose, when what you know is lived through, when what you experience reflects what you trust, that's when peace arrives. Not because life becomes perfect, but because you are not at war with yourself anymore. You stop pulling in 5 directions. You start moving as one being, clear, courageous, whole. So, I leave you with this. Where is your clarity being blocked right now? Is there a belief that no longer serves you? A desire that needs redefining? A truth that has been whispering, but you have been too afraid to follow? An experience asking you to shift your story. Sit with that. Color it if you need to. Speak it out loud. Journal it. Sing it. Walk it under the sky. But do not ignore it. Because clarity is not outside of you. It is waiting within. Beneath the noise. Beneath the contradiction. Beneath the fear. You already know what to do. You just need to align with the part of you that has known all along. Thank you for journeying with me through episode 16 of Reflecting on Divinity. If this message resonated, please like, share, subscribe, and most of all, reflect. Your inner wisdom matters. Your path is sacred, and you, dear one, are a mirror of the divine. Until next time, may your clarity be rooted in truth, and may that truth set your spirit free.